Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Pens and the Bookmarks, an edutaining roundtable where both the readers and the writers weigh in on all things bookish. Who's right? Who's wrong? Who knows? And who cares? We'll be bringing our drinks, but leaving the drama. I'm A.E. KINCAID, an author and a mom who grew up without cable. Megan.
I'm MEGHAN J. DAHL. I write short, sharp, speculative fiction. And down to Whitney.
I'm Whitney. I'm a mom. I'm a worship leader, and I read a lot of books. Lou?
Hi, I'm Lou. I'm a reader. I'm a mom. I'm a part-time college professor. I'm always busy. Kimberly.
Hi, excuse me. Hi, I'm Kimberly Grymez. I'm a speculative fiction author of YA books. And hi. Okay, Amy.
Hi. Well, that's a little bit about us. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's jump right in with our big news this week. Anybody have some big news?
I can start. I went over to the Publish Better, Faster online conference this week by Becker, and it was fantastic. So little shout out to the Better Faster Academy and all the staff there. It was an amazing conference. And if you ever get the chance, if you're a writer, check it out.
Yeah, Becca is must watch for me. I have a little, I call it medium news. I hit the end on the final book in my series. So now I am into revisions for that. And so I should be on track for, yep, there we go. It should be on track for book 3, hopefully sometime in 2023. So that'll be exciting.
You get the news for the biggest, or you get the award for the biggest news.
I don't know, because Kimberly had something go on this week too.
Yes. On Friday, I was really excited to, let me see if I can find it. I did a cover reveal for my book 2 coming out this summer.
Yay.
So I'm really excited to have the support for that. Was just amazing for everyone who helped participate in sharing that cover reveal. I mean, really, I didn't know what to expect, but everyone just so great on Instagram. I love Instagram. That's got to be my favorite social media platform. So I'm excited. I can't wait for the series to be done.
They're beautiful.
Thank you.
She designed it.
Yeah, I designed them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like not many authors get to have the credit for that too, so that's fun.
Yeah, I don't know if I recommend authors designing their own covers. It's kind of a risk, but yeah, that one turned out okay.
Yeah, super cool. Anybody else with big news? Well, this is a show about writers and readers, but let's face it, we're all readers. So let's talk a little bit about what we're currently reading before we get into the big topic of today. Who's up first? Whitney?
I'll go first. I know that I might be late to the game on this, but I just started the biggest book that I've ever seen. I started Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, and that's taking up a lot of my brain space. I love fantasy. I read a lot of fantasy, but this is probably the most complicated thing that I've tried to tackle. I'm not super far in yet, but yeah, it's been very slow going, but I'm looking forward to. Everybody kind of says you're going to hit a stride once you figure out the world building. So I feel like that's taken up all my brain space. Everything else I'm reading is much easier to digest. But I am a chaotic reader. I read lots of things all at once.
Show them how big the book is. This book is a monster.
Mm-hmm.
It is a monster. You can see I have it tabbed. These are like the sections, like part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've started trying to keep track of like these colors are all my important details that I think I may need to come back and revisit.
References.
Oh my goodness.
I've been finding myself like rereading paragraphs like over and over try to like, okay, I can remember this person, their job, whatever. So we'll see.
Is anyone old enough to have gotten a phone book delivered to them?
Yes.
That's what. Especially because it's yellow too, which is terrible because it's the most beautiful cover. Oh my gosh.
It is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yellow pages. Lou, what about you?
All right. Well, I am a chaotic reader as well, so I'm reading a couple of things. But I did just start Dust and Grim by Chuck Wendig.
Wait, do I have that one?
You have that one. I have that one. It looks like this.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so it's middle grade March this month. So I'm trying to focus on the pile of middle grade books sitting on my shelf currently. And this is one I bought because I am a huge Neil Gaiman fan. And just regularly, this one gets compared to, like, if you loved The Graveyard Book, then this is an awesome one to start. So The Graveyard Book is an annual reread for me. So I am diving into this one. I'm not super far, but the main idea here is that you have rival siblings running a funeral home for monsters. What could go wrong?
I love it.
So it's beautiful. I'm also reading this one, The Marvelers by Nanelle Clayton. And it is very cool. It's a little Harry Potter-esque is kind of how it reminds me. But it is the main character is a conjurer, and conjurers do a specific type of magic. It's kind of earthy. It's, I think, probably more what we would think of in terms of like hedge witch and kind of old magic. But she is the first kid to get invited to the Marveler Academy. And the Marveler Academy is set up in the sky. And they keep themselves separate. They see themselves as better than the other types of magicians, or heaven forbid, people who are not magical. But her dad's a politician who has really advocated for like bringing these groups of people together. And so she's going to wind up in all kinds of adventures. One of her favorite mentors goes missing. But right now she's just kind of trying to like bridge some of those just social gaps and those expectations about how her life is so different from the lives of all these other kids, and just kind of crossing those, really just those cultural differences between the two. It's a lot of fun so far.
That sounds great.
That one's middle grade too?
Yes, also middle grade. So
I love the cover.
it's beautiful, isn't it? What's to go next?
Megan, what are you reading?
I'm reading a few things. I'm reading the Autumn of the Grimoire by J.L. Vampa, who is going to be a guest with us next month. So shout out for that. I am really enjoying this. It's been interfering with my work a little bit.
The best kind of read.
Had a few busy couple of days. I had to put it aside, but I'm just chomping at the bit to get back to it. So it is calling my name. I am also listening to Lindsay Baroker's Fallen Empire series. So we're listening to book 2. Which I've forgotten the title of, because it honors flight. And I mostly remember the series names, but I've read all of these in ebook previously, and I'm now listening to them on audiobook. Lindsay Baroker is a one-click buy for me, and I just love all her books, and her space opera especially. So if you enjoy space opera, check it out.
Kimberly, what are you reading?
What am I reading? Let's see. I am reading, I don't know the names. I'm so bad with names, like titles, and there we go. All the Dark Souls by A.M. Dunwin. I just recently came across this author on Instagram, and since I've been wanting to write more dark fantasy, but not too dark because I get scared very easily, But I wanted to try it, and it's actually pretty good. I'm reading this via my Kindle, and it's kind of that medieval times feel, which is also something that I'm wanting to read more of. So far it's got a little bit of romance too, supposedly, but I'm only on chapter 5. So I am reading that one, and I'm listening to a new one that is super funny. Oh my gosh. I sent it to Amy the other day. This one. So this is very humorous, and I'm listening to via audiobook, and it's just got this very humor where this little devil named Dan the Devil forges this poor man's signature because he tries to sales pitch him into selling his soul to get the best 10 years of his life. And the guy's like, 10 years? That's nothing. And then the poor little, devil, Dan the Devil is just like, oh my God, I meet my quota. So he just forges his name and steals his soul. And it's just this really funny. I'm only probably 25% in, but it's just very comical. And I'm not usually into comedy. I don't watch comedy movies. I don't watch comedy shows. I'm not really a comedy person, but I liked the fantasy element of it. And it was nice to read something that's just a little bit more lighthearted. So that is what I'm reading and listening to. I did get a book haul, so I'll probably be picking a physical book out soon.
Nice. Those are always awesome. So when I am writing, I have trouble reading. It just kind of, I don't know, my brain doesn't want to do both. But I have discovered that if I commit to just audiobook, like if I'm just listening, then I can do some, because it's not like I could be driving the car and writing my book anyway. So much like Lou, I am middle grading this March, and I just finished up Unspoken Magic by Emily Lloyd Jones, which is a sequel to Unseen Magic, which Lou recommended to me last year, and I absolutely adored it. I really feel like they both could potentially stand alone, but the main character, Finley, she's on this arc. In the first one, she deals a lot with anxiety. In fact, it's the cause of most of the troubles of the first book, is her not really dealing with it. But she has really progressed in this second one, and she is she's like using some of the techniques that she's been learning. And I thought it was a really nice presentation of how you don't like snap your fingers and fix an anxiety problem, and yet there are lots of great techniques that you can use that can really help, So I thought that was not just an important lesson for young people. I thought it was an important lesson for everyone. And it's a really sweet book. It takes place in this town called Aldemir, which is in California. It's in the Redwoods in California, and there is magic just there. And some people know about it and some people don't know about it. And it's the whole story of like trying to keep the magic a secret, or who needs to know about it. And I don't know, this is a great adventure.
Nice. Hey, I have a question for you guys. So I guess I was not aware of the middle grade March. Is there a theme for every month?
I'm sure somebody has one for
You can
find one if you're looking for it.
Well, I want to be in the cool gang for next month.
Middle grade March is how I found out about Bookstagrammer like 5 or 6 years ago. It's what brought me to the world.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of A words for April.
I don't know about April.
Angels in April.
Angels, that's good.
Academy.
Wait, is that a thing? Don't mislead me.
I'm making
We're making this up.
With books about angels, and you're all going to be reading about something else, and I'll be like, "Yep."
You're like just desperately searching for angel books.
She shows up like her TBR is like the size of her head,
Yeah. and everybody's reading like space opera, and I'll be like, yeah, okay. Figures.
We will not judge you.
Awesome. Well, I think everyone's got some cool current reads, and hopefully, if we, for those of you who are in process, you can kind of give us an update on how it went, in the future. Especially, Whitney, no pressure to finish.
If I'm done at the end of next month, we're gonna be feeling great. You're gonna ask me and be like, well, I'm still on page 117, but I read 14 romance novels. So congrats to me.
But yeah, maybe we can move on to our main topic, which for this inaugural episode is killing off characters. Now, you may remember from our intro that this is a discussion between readers and writers, and talking about all things that relate to bookish things. This topic, killing off characters, can be a bit divisive between the readers and the writers sometimes. So my first question is, who all here is for killing off characters? Does anyone do it?
Do it.
Nice.
Gross.
I have a hard time answering that unilaterally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There are some provisos with that, so
Okay.
it's pretty. Don't genre specific. Don't kill off anybody in a romance novel. Ever.
Please don't.
Unless they had it coming.
Unless it's stated as a tragic romance story, then I guess you kind of have to kill somebody.
I was like, when you kill somebody in a rom-com, I'm gonna take an issue with it every single time. And I don't even care if they come back, because I have read some where they come back.
Mhm.
And I'm still I have sent many a text message, to people who recommended rom-com books to me where a character dies and said, why did you make me read this book? I am sobbing in my house.
It just sort of takes the calm out of
It
rom-com.
really does. And and then when they come back, great, that's great. But man, that whole middle section just really sort of lost, the whole half the genre.
Mm-hmm.
If
Is
you
anyone?
got
Oh, go
a
ahead.
romance novel, if I pick up a romance novel, I am looking for happiness. If I pick up a dark fantasy novel, all bets are off. I accept what might happen in that book.
Yeah. I should say that for killing off characters, for me, it depends on the book and the story, but I think I'm more okay with the side characters. They're the ones that I think those are the characters I'm okay with
Wonderful.
killing. Yeah.
Please don't kill off our point of view characters. Please
Yeah,
kill off our point of view
don't kill off somebody who I need to fall in love with, or
Yeah. If
But in
they're
those
point of view for one chapter, so to illustrate that someone far away is in danger,
yeah.
then that's a little bit different. But if you have a don't kill off your main characters. Don't.
Yeah.
Please don't. We don't like that.
That's right. I have read, I have read one completed trilogy, and I'm not going to name them because I don't want to spoiler anybody. And then I am on the second book of another trilogy that I started last month. Whitney and I read one of these together, and both of them were probably half dozen POV characters. So multi POV, you have like a group of probably about 6 people, and in each of them, the author killed off one of those characters in book 1. And I was I don't know, it was shocking. It was shocking. And it's one of those where I think I felt okay, these are serious books. They're fantasy novels. That's probably coming. But in book 1, I don't know. It was just I could see how it kind of worked through the storyline. But I don't know. There was a part of me that wrestled, as a reader, I wrestle with how much of this is for the shock value of it in book 1, and how much of this is actually going to drive the narrative.
I think you need a really important reason for killing off a character. In fantasy, it's kind of a tradition not tradition, but it It's a tradition. It is an accepted sort of story path that the mentor, it may die in the black moment. And if the book has any sort of, themes around sacrifice or good and evil and things like that, that isn't, to me, that is a place where I can maybe tolerate that you've killed a favorite character, because, it's like the Gandalf moment. And sometimes in fantasy, it's not the end, right? So then there's still,
I did in this particular trilogy, that the one that we read, I have not read the other one she's talking about, so I don't know what that is. But the one that we read together, it was very like, she's going to be back, right? She's coming back. Like, and I just waited and I waited. And then I was like, I guess not. Like, she's truly dead. She did not come back. Like,
Really most sincerely dead.
My daughter read a book where a character died and she was so upset. And I said, "Did you see the body?" And she's like, "Well, no." And I said, "Well, if you don't see the body, then you don't know."
What a good point.
So now anytime she reads a book and a character dies, she's like, "No, we saw the body."
Can confirm.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I don't like killing off characters. Now, all the things that you all have been saying are absolutely true. I'm not going to avoid a book because a character died, and there are certain genres where it is more acceptable, I guess, than other times. But Whitney, you just said, like, are they doing it for the shock value, or are they doing it to drive the narrative? Like, I hate death as a catalyst. Like, I don't hate it. I think it's overused. I think death as a catalyst for action is overused. Sometimes it is the logical place to go, but I feel like sometimes it's not. And that drives me crazy. So not a lot of people die in my series, although also my series is humorous fantasy adventure. So hopefully, that gives you, it's not like the secret rom-com moment where like the person dies. Like, it's supposed to be funny, actually.
Those are some hard books when you think they're funny, though, and then they insert this like dramatic moment, and then, or this like, even like the grief of like the characters remaining, like, it's like, oh, I thought this was going to be lighthearted and now I'm crying and I don't know, like, I don't know how to rate it, because I went in with unrealistic expectations.
Was not prepared.
Now everyone's dead.
Yeah, I think it is a fair point about the death as a catalyst. I think, Amy, you've mentioned before, not every fantasy story has to start out with dead parents. And it's kind of funny because it's kind of like a favorite trope of mine that like everything sucks and then something magic happens. And I think the everything sucks for kids, like the situation, nothing sucks more than dead parents. So that's sort of how they chuck you right in there. Also, your parents would never let you get on a giant peach and sail off. And
that is true. Seriously,
so true. And you would have missed out. Yeah, James.
So, since you mentioned that, is it better if you're killing off characters to like start the book with them existing and being part of it, and to kill them off like the parents, or is it better to like just like hover them, like we just start the book out and we know that the parents are dead and that's like the setting? Or is it like, does that even count as killing off a character, or is that just like set up?
I think it's shocking if you kill someone as your inciting incident in the middle. Like when you start the book, it's pretty that can be, you're taking your reader through that traumatic incident. And if that is if you're writing literary fiction and that is your goal, then that's different, But if, I'd rather that be off the page. If that's not what the story is about, if the story is not about them and their grief, if it's just this is where they're at and then something happens. I like to go in a positive direction, so I usually like to see them coming up from there.
Right.
Can appreciate
I feel
that.
like fantasy is the only genre in which I want to read about an on-page death.
Yes.
And only if it's really worth it. I wouldn't want like contemporary fiction.
Oh.
I don't tend to want to read that. If it's like a realistic situation. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Fully agree.
Yeah. Some of them can be good, but there's only a few that I can think of. And I did go through an entire box of tissues.
You just got to be ready for it.
Okay. But that leads me to another question, which is what is one or more of your most memorable character deaths? I can't, like, mine's a little bit of a spoiler, but if you have read what I have read, then you will know what I'm talking about. So somebody else want to go first?
Think for a minute.
I can go first. I will say nothing was more shocking for me than I'm going to spoiler it because if you haven't read George R. R. Martin, just click shut right now. But I think most of you have by now, or you've seen the series. The death of Eddard Stark at the beginning at the end of the first book. He was the main character, and then the Red Wedding. The Red Wedding.
That's
Don't do that. Please don't do that. I don't want to read that, really. I mean, I still read the whole series, as much as has been written so far. But I did have some provisos going forward. I was like, if you kill these X characters, I'm out.
That's fair.
How many books are in that series? Like if that happened in number 1.
Yeah, there's 6 written so far, and then he hasn't finished.
He left you with a lot to live for. Is what he's saying.
He was
like, I don't care about this anymore.
There was a lot of characters, but it was like, okay, well, there's no guarantee that anybody's going to survive this now.
I didn't read that one.
Yeah.
I will say this. Okay. So in a situation like that actually really does add to the drama, right? So when you watch a show like Arrow and they are gonna, like in the preview, they're like, oh, we're gonna kill Oliver Queen. You're like, well, no, you're not, because the show is called Arrow. He is Green Arrow. Like, so I will say in some situations, it does keep me on my toes. Like, you just never know. Today, the trailer for Silo, which is based on the best-selling book series by Hugh Howey called Wool, they released the trailer. And that's another one where I don't know how they're going to do it for a TV show, but like in the books, don't fall in love with anyone, friends. You don't know.
Watch at your own risk.
I have read those books where you're like, I don't trust anybody and I don't love anybody.
It's
not
true.
to anyone here.
Yeah.
Gosh,
I love this book though.
Well, I was gonna. Sorry.
Nope. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, kind of along those same lines, even we were talking about like the main character. And again, we're gonna go spoilers here because we're gonna talk about characters dying. So, but I felt like similar to that. I think one of the most shocking deaths I saw in a novel was Zafira in We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. And she is the female main character. And there is a scene where they kill her off. And it's dual POV. And it alternates chapter to chapter to chapter. And you go chapters without her perspective. And I remember like thinking, she's the main character, right? So she's not really, really dead. If you're gonna just got something, she's coming back. And then it's like 6 chapters before you get anything, like any indication of what's actually gone on. Like you witness her death on screen, and you switch to the other characters, and then you just lose her for like a significant chunk of the book. And I just remember absolutely being shocked. Like, did she actually just off? Like it was like, no, she's gonna be like in the next, and then well, in the next, the third chapter, you're like, okay, maybe she's not coming back. Like, and so I think that's one that I always think of because it did shape the rest of the novel and what she did with it, and she brought it back in with like this beautiful blend of like meaning and significance and a fair amount of humor, that was super, super suited to the other characters in the story. But yeah, I just it's still one that I think of when I think about a character death in a book, where I just think like wait, what? Like
I don't think that's normal.
No,
I really think that's like a rare thing.
It's gonna be a minute. And man, she just drug it out like so well for so long that you were like, by the time she finally brings the character back in, you're like all the way convinced that somehow we have lost the main character of this story and we're gonna go on without her and pick up with everybody else, like in this sad little misfit band of heroes,
I'd love to have heard that conversation with her and her agent or her editor, where she's like, I'm going to kill the main character.
Dead.
Stay tuned.
And then I'm going to have a check of chapters. And keep them,
Yeah, she's very dead.
All right. Who else?
I think the one that really hit me the hardest, because not main characters, side characters die frequently in fantasy stories. And even in the mystery thriller, I used to read a lot of mystery thriller. But I think the one, and I don't know, I'm assuming a lot of people have read the Divergent series. And I think that one really hit hard with a lot of people without spoiling. And I think it just was like angry. A lot of people were just angry with the way that series was wrapped up and everything. And I don't want to spoil it, but at the same time, one of the main characters does. And everyone's kind of like, wait,
Wait,
why? Why? There was no reason. There was no, I feel like it only ruined the story, but.
That my son was a fan of that until that, and then
I loved the series up until that, and I was like, it really just ruined it.
I feel bad
so when people ask me, and I'm like, no, don't read it. Don't read it.
I hate it when it happens like in the last few pages, and you feel like that just ruined my entire reading experience.
Yeah,
like I loved it. Boom. That just like.
I think if you're going to have a death, it's got to be for a reason.
Yeah.
It's got to have it's got to affect the other characters, and ideally your main characters. So like even in that situation, okay, you killed off the main character for 6 pages, for 6 chapters. Sorry, she came back, and the book resolved. So you had you finished the arc. You kill someone at the end.
Yeah.
I think the only situation where, and I haven't read it, but I've heard it was done well, was a detective series. That was a long running detective series. And the detective dies at the end. But they finished it in such a way that that was the correct ending. That felt
closure.
That was, for an example, for a TV example, Breaking Bad.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Right. Yeah. Because
I see it.
So like he's been on that trajectory,
that was the correct ending.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
It was obvious from the start. Like, okay.
Yes, it was also written in.
Yeah.
One way or another.
But when you watch Scream and you're watching Drew Barrymore, and then all of a sudden, like, whoa, that's Drew Barrymore.
Can you do that?
Yeah, that was a shocker for me. I was like, that's an A-lister you just. He was really upset with that.
How about you, Whitney?
I feel like the one that was the worst for me is a really popular duology, and I don't want to ruin it because I waited a long time to read it, so I know that there are still people out there that haven't read it. But it's another one of those, like Lou was saying, where there's like there's a core group of people, and at the end of the second book, one of them dies, and he was like a jerk to begin with, and we didn't like him, and then he got this like redemption arc, and then we killed him.
Hate that.
Why?
Yeah.
Why did
that
we
connection?
I still don't know what the reason is, but it was frustrating for me. Like we gave him a little romance. There was like redemption.
Can't do it.
Can't do it. Well, I guess he just had to. Like, he was too much of a jerk in the beginning. If he had only been slightly a jerk in the beginning,
Slightly less of a jerk.
Was his death,
just carried him.
did his death move the story? Was it relevant to the scene? Did it have to happen, or was she or he just like, this is the one that's gonna go?
I don't feel like it was necessary, but I'm sure that that the author had a reason, but she didn't tell me, and that was rude of her.
That was very rude.
That was rude.
Mine is has anyone read Kingdom of Ash? The 13.
Holy moly.
It's still like I can't handle it.
I just got like chills.
I was gonna say I have goosebumps.
Like can't.
Yeah, I can't even think about it. And you know what's funny about this is that like that's not like my main genre. I don't read a lot of YA fantasy. I actually had I only started the first book because it won a March Madness YA fantasy, like they were doing this like March Madness bracket, at like some library or whatever, and it won. And I read the first one, I was like, ugh, I hate Aelin. And then, but like for some reason, I read the second one. Then I don't know, maybe I bought them like both of them, so I like kept reading. And the more I read, the more I was like kind of into the story and like I wanted to know what happened. And then we got to that scene, and I was like, I wish I hadn't read any of this.
I regret the whole series.
You're like 12 books in, so
I know, exactly.
You're committed now.
Exactly. I was like, what is this? So yeah, I'm scarred forever.
Yeah, that's a brutal one.
I was going to say there was a lot of death in that book that I just was like as soon as I felt like I recovered, then somebody else I loved died.
Yeah, well, and actually, so like we were saying for Game of Thrones, we were talking about how you never know. I thought I knew, and then when I was reading that book, I started thinking, do I know? Like,
right?
What's gonna happen? I don't know. Maybe I don't.
I could not anticipate it.
Sometimes if a book is dark to begin with, then okay, you know there might,
right?
But still, yeah.
I always think it's interesting, like speaking of the 13 and other like fantasy books, when it's like these are creatures or beings or whatever they are that we know they typically have really long lives or forever long lives. And it's like, it gives you a false sense of security. Like even in a dangerous situation, they're probably not going to die.
They're very resilient.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Surely they're going to be okay.
There's magic in this world.
Right.
They're immortal. Like they're fine.
It's just magic them back.
Magic them right back. Right. I'm good. But I'm with Whitney on this too, though. I need my character deaths to exist in fantasy. Like I can't do literary fiction. I have a hard time with even historical fiction. Like, man, when it's like, this is the kind of stuff that people actually like went through and then they actually died in the ride. But I can't even I can't watch it either. Like, I don't watch scary movies. I don't watch intense television. My husband, routinely at night, he puts on his headphones and he watches TV, and I sit with my middle grade books or my fantasy novels because I need all of that drama and death to happen in magical other worlds and not in this one.
Yeah, well, if I'm going to read something that is going to have a death in it, I kind of like to know that up front that I or something, or there's I'll give you Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. So that book is beautiful. And I went through a giant box of tissues. But you knew that it was not going to it was going to be a poignant book.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was acceptable to what I was getting into when I read it. And I know that I wouldn't pick that up if I was feeling fragile or,
Right.
I don't want to pick up. I read a sort of a paranormal romance that ended with a cancer diagnosis. I was like,
No.
I read this to get away from that kind of stuff.
You're bringing reality into my fantasy.
So
Yeah, I actually have a friend who did a paranormal it's so good. It's so good. But the end of the first book, like I read the prequel, one of the prequels, and then I read the first book, and the end of the first book like broke my heart. And I know what it's setting up. Like I know what's coming, and I know I'm going to enjoy it. And when I'm done with book 3, I'm gonna dive in again. But like I was like, I can't talk to you right now. Oh, it really bugged me.
Great. So I have a question.
Mhm.
Can I randomly ask a question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do please.
What if it's the antagonist? What if it's the villain? Are we okay with killing them off?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
They've made the
I'm
really
in like
good
black and
choices
white
in the
world, I
beginning.
guess.
They're
I
okay.
think it depends a little bit, I think. But I mean, I'd be much more content with the villain than than anybody else.
Mhm.
And if it's but it's got to fit the tone of the book, I
Right.
think.
Yeah.
So
Fantasy,
if your character is all about integrity, they don't like go vengeance on the or something.
Well, and again, I think genre specific. So like, there's always some like I don't know, like I think Hallmark movies, right? There's like always like the antagonistic, like, other like we killing off like these like wealthy like New York City lawyers because they're jerks. Like, maybe not. Like,
Maybe not that.
but like in a fantasy novel or like sure, like that.
Yeah, if it's a really evil villain,
Right.
then yes. So I think that's the punishment's gotta match the crime.
Mhm. Yeah, being attractive and wealthy and also a jerk is maybe not a death sentence
Not,
yeah,
didn't
on
really
its own. Yeah, I know. So, and the thing is, it's a little bit different now, right? Because there used to be like Sauron. Sauron dies, great, that's terrific. But like, I don't know, I'm not going to be able to think of an example. But I feel like villains now, they often have more than one side to them, or we get their background, and it's like tragic, and you think, oh gosh, like, should they just go to therapy? Or
right, Lee Bardugo's The Darkling.
Okay, there we go. So like there's that too to consider.
Yeah, that makes it so much harder.
Or finding out they're not actually a villain. They just were doing all of those things out of compulsion or whatever.
Love,
like they weren't truly the antagonist we think they were, because we find out in book 2 that whatever.
Something else was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Just messing with my brain.
This is why it's great and terrible to read like ongoing series. It's like, how long do I have to wait before
I can know this? This is why, Amy, I need to read your books like as ongoing, because I never I finish it and I'm like, okay, I have some questions, but I'm not gonna not sleep about this for the until the next one comes out. This is my ongoing series threshold. I can't do it.
How many nights sleep was lost? Yeah.
Oh, right. My daughter introduced us to a series that is her favorite middle grade series, The Keeper of the Lost Cities.
Oh, I have to read that.
Okay, magical. She introduced it to me and my husband and all of my friends during lockdown. And we all read it and have become completely obsessed with it. And she failed to mention, until we read the first 7 of these 800-page middle grade books, that there are like 10 of them.
No.
And this wonderful author loves a cliffhanger ending, and she does kill characters. And
Is this Keeper?
yes, and she had not one but 2 pregnancies in the last 2 years, which delayed her books. So instead of every year 1 book, it's like every 2 years for these. So we're like now, 8, 9 books into this series. And we're like, I mean, it's about to get so bad. Like people are dying. You're waiting in anticipation of like who's going to make it out of this? Because I truly don't know. And
middle grade series?
Yes. Well, and again, and I would say it's like middle grade in the way Harry Potter was middle grade.
Yeah, you grow up with them.
Started writing to like a true middle grade audience. And then she's been in this world now for like, I think something like 12 or 13 years that she's been writing these novels. And so she's like writing to that audience. So like my high school daughter is like, like completely on like age, like consistency for the maturity of what she's writing now, but yeah, like we've killed some main characters, and we're reaching a point of like age even for like the younger characters where you're like kind of like Harry Potter there, where like you're like, I don't know that all the kids are going to make it out of this, right? Like who do I care about? Like who can I feel like I can attach to in this story? Because I'm like, she just announced last week that she's pregnant again, and it won't be there won't be a novel this fall. It'll be next year. And everybody's oh my gosh, we're so happy for you.
That's like Sarah J. Maas too. Like, hi, stop having babies and start writing again, please.
I was like, I love you. I'm so happy for you as a person, and I hurt a lot right now. Personally attacked a little bit, like a little bit.
It must be tough to be an author.
I can't imagine. You should be more considerate, really.
Well, I'm past that age, so no more babies for me.
I'm gonna keep them coming.
Is that like your solution to writer's block? You're like, I can't think of anything. I'll just do this instead.
Maybe I'll get an idea.
I know. Well, actually, so Jessica Townsend, Nevermore. She was not pregnant. But she has like complications for long COVID, and so she had to delay the book. And those, not at the moment super concerned about character death there. However, I do believe that the tone suits itself to that maybe coming down the line, and so I'm nervous for the next one.
I need to catch up. I haven't read Hollowbox yet. So
I thought I was going to hate that because of our recent events, but I did not. I thought it was really well done.
Agreed.
Good to know.
She did a good job.
And she wrote it before.
I know.
And it's like a weirdly accurate depiction of how that how it went. Yeah. Anyway, well, that was fun. Ish. Is it fun to talk about?
As much fun as you can have talking about killing.
Let's do it again.
All right.
We'll have to have everybody comment something in regards to what their thoughts are about killing characters.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Definitely do that.
Tell us the deaths that hurt you, but put spoiler in front.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. We don't have to observe spoilers, but please observe spoilers in the comments
of each other.
We tried to kind of.
We did. Yeah. We said the word.
Oh, you're talking
guys.
That.
We did try.
We are talking books, so.
Well, thank you for joining us. And the next episode that I believe we will have for you, we'll have a guest, J.L. Vampa. She is the author of the Sister Solstice series. Autumn of the Grimoire is book 1, and recently released is Winter of the Wicked, her second book of 4 in that series. If you have not, there we go. If you have not read them, check them out. When I tell you there is something for everyone in these books, there's arranged marriage, there's great food, there's comedy, there's spice, there's magic, there's political intrigue, there's fashion, like something for everyone in these books. I do not know how she like piled all these things together and made a cohesive, really well-written, enjoyable series, but she's making it happen. So we're excited to have her next time.
Yes.
Is
I'm
everyone
excited to talk.
Bye.
Thank you for coming.
So hopefully we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye. It's recording.
Y'all ready?
We're so professional.
Wait, what's the live? No, do you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay.
Good start.
That probably makes sense, right? Because it could be live. I don't know.
Wait, will it stay there? That number? It's so red.
You couldn't brand it, Kimberly?
I know. I'm like, what the hey?
I hope this is our real intro.
It is now.
It's real.